Donald Trump has said for months that he no longer watches Morning Joe, but he did tune into the MSNBC show the other day to see Joe Scarborough ripping him and Mika saying they never have much time to talk about Hillary Clinton's problems.
I mean, if you're watching morning shows, you're watching our show. All we're doing is talking about Donald Trump and his failings. All we're doing is talking about how he can't pivot. All we're doing is talking about how unbelievably flawed he is.
That triggered a couple of caustic tweets, including a highly personal swipe we won't repeat on the air, and saying that Trump may one day tell the real story about the co-hosts, calling them two clowns. Quote, tried watching low-rated Morning Joe this morning, unwatchable. Morning Mika is off the wall, a neurotic and not very bright mess. Joining us now to talk about this and other controversies, Molly Hemingway, senior editor at The Federalist, and Simon Rosenberg, president of the New Democratic Network. Molly, what does it tell us that the new, more scripted Trump is still sort of punching back at cable pundits?
Well, I think you have to put it in a larger context. You had a media that aided and abetted Trump when he was winning the Republican nomination. Once he wins, they turn to savagely attacking him. Joe Scarborough is a kind of extreme example of this, having tried to become his VP, or at least flirting with that.
No proof
flirting
of that.
with it, not refusing to be considered for that role, to now just brutally attacking him. I think it shows that the media are extremely emotional about how they're covering this race. Whether Donald Trump is wise to be attacking the media is a different question, but there is something highly emotional about the media coverage of Trump, and he's not unwise to point that out.
Let me play another clip that drew the ire of the Trump campaign. This was on Friday when Mika on her own was interviewing, and with others, was interviewing Pastor Mark Burns, a Trump supporter, and she was pressing him about Trump's comments of a few months ago about the Mexican-American judge in the Trump University case. Let's watch.
Were the comments racist or not? I just want to know.
Let me finish my statement, okay?
Well, it's asking for the answer to the question, not a statement. Well, could I have an answer to the question?
Let me give you my answer the way I would give it to you, so that we can move forward. Because we're telling the story. It's just the story.
But it's yes or no.
So I think if I was in Mr. Trump's shoes, I don't think it was racist.
A statement by Trump, Simon Rosenberg, called that whole interview appalling, disgusting, repulsive, and said that the Morning Joe show has become the propaganda arm of Hillary Clinton and her campaign.
Listen, I think there's no secret here that this has been a very hard race to cover for most journalists. I used to work for ABC News. I came out of this business and went into the political side. And I think Donald Trump has pushed the boundaries of discourse in ways that have made it hard, I think, for reporters to manage this race. This hasn't been a normal race, right? So people are struggling with, I think, how to cover it. And I think, you know, Morning Joe clearly, right, let's be clear, Morning Joe is now clearly going after Trump in ways, I think, to make up for sort of this dance that they did last year.
Sometimes Scarborough goes after Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. And look, but it hurts more for the Republicans to see a former Republican congressman, right, doing it, and that's why it's a little bit more painful for them.
Let me move on to Hillary Clinton's speech this week, Molly, trying to tar Trump with all the sins of the alt-right, the alternative right, painting it as a collection of sort of white supremacists and anti-Semites. And, of course, the opening here was provided by the Trump campaign hiring Steve Bannon, the former chairman of Breitbart, and Bannon has said it's the voice of the alt-right. Has that coverage been fair or unfair in your view?
Well, it really is a campaign tactic for Hillary Clinton to bring up this issue, and I think the question is, how much should the media participate in that campaign tactic? If they want to cover unsavory characters who support each campaign, they can do that, but they should not just look at one campaign at the exclusion of the other. You have tons of extremist candidates, or people who are supporting Hillary Clinton, from the head of the Communist Party USA, some of the most radical abortion extremists, Sidney Blumenthal, who was advising Hillary Clinton on invading Libya while he was paid by the Clinton Foundation. There are all sorts of people you can look at on both sides of the campaign. It's a totally normal, negative campaign trick, but the media should think about how much they want to participate in that campaign.
I don't like when the media say, oh, this crazy person, whether it's David Duke with Trump or the Orlando shooter's father with Hillary, they want their 10 seconds of fame, and then we try to tie it around. But is there a balance in the way that this is being done?
I don't know that this one there will be balance, because as a Democrat, I don't think we see this as an even-handed thing. I mean, I think the Clinton campaign, to their credit, has been very careful to use Donald Trump's own words or the words of the people supporting him, right? They haven't, it's not been insinuation, right? It's been the actual, look at the videos, right? It's almost every time, all the videos they're releasing is the actual words of Trump and the people. And
but when you get into the alt-right business, then it's not Trump's words, it's the words of other people.
But when you add, when he hired, right, Steve Bannon to go in there, that was the thing that crossed over for Democrats to be able to say this is fair game.
Quick point, New York Times and others reporting on Bannon having been charged 20 years ago with domestic violence with his then wife. The charges were later dropped. I can see reporting it, but should this be a major story? 20 years ago, the guy who was running the campaign?
I mean, Steve Bannon is a major figure in the campaign, and he's an unsavory character, and I think there's tons of information out there that you can go after. But I do think it kind of crosses a line, for instance, bringing up divorce proceedings. I have yet to hear of a divorce proceeding that didn't involve allegations that, you can get really extreme rhetoric. I think we should be cautious, or it should be a more universally applied journalistic trick to bring up divorce papers.
You agree with that?
I think, look, he's a new guy, and this is what happens, right? I mean, everyone gets vetted in this business, right?
I know, but it feels a little, it just feels a little over the line to me to make a major issue out of something that happened 20 years ago. Divorce proceeding. Yeah. We have half a minute left.
Yeah.
You wrote at the beginning of this year that the Clinton Foundation should be phased out to avoid conflicts. Now, that seems to be an emerging media position. I guess you were right. What took so long?
No, listen, I think it's clear that they're making dramatic changes in the foundation, right? I mean, personally, I wish this had happened a year ago, right, that they had removed any...
Why didn't the campaign listen to you?
Because they don't listen to me about many things, but I think and this one, I think that they got the message, right? They're making significant changes, and I think it's heading in the right direction.
But not shutting it down or phasing it out, transferring the assets, as a lot of people in the media now, Molly, are calling for. Got to go. Simon Rosenberg. Molly Hemingway, great to see you this Sunday.